Hi, I'm Aaron J. Marks of aaronjmarks.com and commercetheory.com. Welcome to my podcast, A Higher Level, where everything we think, see, and do happens on a higher level. For as long as I can remember, I felt like my mind has worked just a little differently than most others. For my entire life, I've been studying, observing, and contemplating this incomparably strange and wonderful phenomenon called human existence, and trying to figure out what it's all about. People say the way of thinking and theorizing that comes from this offers an unusually high and rich level of insight, clarity, freedom, inspiration, and effortless creativity. And that's ultimately what a higher level is all about. The insight to understand how life works, the clarity to see where to go next, the freedom to go there, the inspiration to find joy and wonder along the journey, and the creativity to honor your particular brand of human genius. In this podcast, I'm going to break down and describe the concepts that come from my theories so that you can see into the fabric of the life you're living with greater depth and precision, and use that understanding to improve your results in every way that's meaningful to you. It's the only life you get, and the only chance you have to make a difference here. If there's one thing I know, it's that all lives can improve, and that the human race is just one big collective results improving system. Ready to find your place here? Fabulous. Let's get into the topic for this episode of A Higher Level. I'll see you again afterward and talk more about what it looks like to work with me. Until then, let's dive in. Hey, this is Aaron of aaronjmarks.com. I'm a commerce theorist, and welcome back to the second series of the second season of A Higher Level, my podcast, where everything we think, see, and do happens on a higher level. And this series is about my new theory of commerce, which I call commerce theory. And I'm writing a book about it. It's called Seeking Completion, the 5 hidden layers behind every human interaction. So it's essentially about how humans form groups because we don't do anything in isolation. Everything that we do is with other people in some way. And our relationships are made of interactions. And so we're analyzing those interactions. And there's, I believe, 5 layers behind every interaction. All right. So we're on part 4 of the 5. So we're getting to the end. I'm getting a little hoarse, so I'll be drinking more water. But the fourth layer is anthropology. And anthropology means the study of humans and the study of human culture. And humans are very special among the creatures that we know in that we have incredibly detailed and involved cultures. And so we're going to talk about what makes those cultures and where we find them and how they form in this layer. So just a quick recap. Layer 1 is ontology. It's existence itself, but also sort of what precedes existence, which is not really a coherent thing to say because that implies space-time, and space-time is an element of existence, and yet all the religions and also physical cosmology seem to point to some sort of existence beyond existence itself. And so, because what generated existence is outside of existence itself, we can think about existence in terms of not only what is, but also what could be. And so that existence is large enough to encapsulate all of that. And that places demands on our existence and that we have to navigate space-time. We have to figure out what to do with our lives in every moment. We have to figure out where to be, when, and with whom. And that's commerce theory. And so we make those decisions with what I call theologies, which are not only religious. Unless you broaden that and see religious behavior in all of human life, which I do. But it's not the way that people are used to thinking of theology. They're used to thinking of it, as relegated to certain aspects of human life. But I don't I don't see a distinction really. I think everything that humans do is religious in a sense, and so everyone has some sort of greatest good that they envision that they're hypothesizing, and that's what a theology is, and it tells you how to spend your life. And we create groups around those theologies, and within those groups we say, well, we're going to spend our time here and not here, and we're going to spend our effort here and not here, and we're going to proclaim these values and not these values, and it's going to involve not doing certain things and doing other things, and everyone's configuration looks just a little bit different. And so that's sociology. And now we're on the fourth layer, which is anthropology, which is the cultures that form within those social groups. So, what are those? And um, how do they form? And how do we know them when we see them? So, in a sense, all behavior is a ritual, right? So it's like when I think about the things that I want to enact in my life, when I think about sort of the theological orientation, it's going to have me doing certain things over and over and over again. So an example would be this podcast, to use something that immediately comes to mind. So I've had this ritual. I've done it 45 times. This is my 45th time doing this, of sitting down at my computer and speaking into this microphone and communicating my thoughts and pressing record, right? That's a ritual. I've done it over and over and over again. Why do I do that? Because I think that it is the highest value thing that I could do with my time, to communicate this to you and build an audience around it. That's ritualized behavior, right? And in a sense, this computer is almost like an altar, at which I'm worshiping, right? Um, but like people see this in all of human behavior. So it's like there is some philosopher. He's Korean. I was listening to a podcast about him. Let's see if I can get his name. Byung-Chul Han, I think, is his name. And he says rituals are the way that we split up time. The way that we split up time. So I first really began to think about this. I mean, I think for a long time I've had a sense that humans are sort of a theologically driven species, in that we see, we do have a deep sense of sacredness, and we construct our behavior around what we think is going to maximize that. And so in a sense, everyone has a religious affiliation. Everyone is sort of professing their own religion in the behaviors that they do. But there's this fascinating book called The Ancient City by it was like a French genius in the 1800s. And it's likely someone you've never heard of. He's got this really long name. I mean, I'll look that up too. See, The Ancient City, or Le Cité Antique by Numa Denis Fustel de Coulanges. And so what he did, like I said, he was this sort of savant genius. And you can listen to this. There's a podcast called the Lex Friedman podcast. Lex Friedman is I think an AI researcher or professor at MIT or something like that, and he has a podcast now. And he was talking to a guy named Mark Andreessen, who is a tech billionaire, and um, Mark Andreessen said this is one of the most interesting books that he's ever read, and it helps him understand human behavior. And just hearing him talk about it was very interesting. It helped me see things in a different way. And then I listened to it, and it was like, oh yeah, I see what he's saying. And so basically, this author, he read all of like the ancient Greek and Roman sources, in their original texts, and he, sort of put together, he reconstructed what society looked like before the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations, and essentially it was this series of family cults. So Andreessen says it's all cults. But it started with the family, with the father as the high priest. And so, it was the religious unit, the family unit, the economic unit, and it was extremely closely knit. And they worshipped ancestors, they thought they were alive, and so they would sacrifice food to them, and they had prayers that they would conduct in the house. Their sort of central altar was the hearth. And what was really interesting is like every household had its own little prayers, and its own hymns to its own ancestors. And I imagine a lot of them sounded very similar, because like there was a cultural, cohesion to the people in Greece and the people in Italy. Um, and I think also the people in ancient India, because Sanskrit is, from the same language family as Greek and Roman, and ultimately English. It's the Indo-European language family. But what was really interesting in the book was how these ancient uh, or actually like almost prehistoric, I think you would have to say, because they didn't keep records, like what the marriage ceremony was like. So the woman, when she married a man, she would actually renounce her her household of origin, and she would undergo a ritual where she joined the new household and learned their prayers and learned their hymns. And so um, she renounced the rituals of her old group and she learned the rituals of her new group, and then she became part of that ritual community. And from there, Fustel de Coulanges says the units of society, and like they have these names like gens and some other ones. It's like gradually these households, would band together to form villages and then, cities and then eventually states, right? And, he says he can see this ritualistic behavior unifying all these different groups at all these different levels. And so that was really fascinating because it's like now I can look across human society and say, okay, those are the rituals that this group does. Those are the rituals that this group does, right? So when we renew our identity, our collective identity, so whatever group, like whether it's your family, whether it's your religious community, whether it's your government, whether it's a small business, right? You have some sort of rituals that everyone comes together and participates in. I remember, so I was in a fraternity. I still am in a fraternity. It's called Find Me Off. It's a music fraternity. It's a really cool, interesting fraternity. Not quite like the others. We never quite felt like the other fraternities, but periodically, it's like when you bring new members in, there was a ritual, and it was secret, but it was a sacred ritual. It's like it explored timeless themes. Just like you would in a religion, and it's very beautiful, it's very inspiring, so the rituals are the things that draw us together and become a source of strength and inspiration for us. It's like family dinners are very much like this. So it's like anything that you enact or institute in your group to kind of set your values aside and show significance, like that's what your rituals are. So um that's anthropology. It's like, and that's how we create culture, is through rituals that we enact and repeat, just to show significance. So, yeah, I know this is very broad and abstract, but I guarantee that any group that coheres, you are going to find some sort of ritual of renewal, ritual of continuation that involves all the members of that group, or key members, or representative members of that group, or else the group dissolves. There is no group that can stay together without ritual behavior. And that's what a culture is. It's, just a series of ritual behaviors that cohere. So, think about all the groups that you're in and ask, what are the rituals? And are they communicating what I want to? Are they happening often enough? Are they happening for long enough? Do they involve the right people? These are all questions to ask about, how to strengthen the social groups that you're a part of. So that's anthropology. It's the study of culture, it's the study of human culture, and it's essentially, it boils down to the rituals that we perform with one another to express the significance of what we seek there. So, which is ultimately the theology, right? And the way that we, navigate space-time and deal with our being, our existence. So, all right, that was culture. One more, or sorry, anthropology. One more, systems and signals. Yeah, I'm not sure how long this one's going to take, but I will see you for that, the fifth layer. This has been a higher level with Aaron of aaronjmarks.com. I'm a commerce theorist, and we're getting to the end of a series about my new theory of human commerce, which is commerce theory. All right, I'll see you in the next episode, everyone. Talk to you then. Thanks for joining me on a higher level. If I've done my job right, you're seeing, thinking, and acting differently, with more clarity, more decisiveness, more intention, more success. The current state of your life is just a set of results, and they can all be improved. Doesn't matter whether it concerns yourself, your family, your friends, your community, your workplace, your investments, your world. Behave differently, act differently, communicate differently, and your results will change, guaranteed. But how do you change your actions, behaviors, and communications? If you're unsure, give me a shout. I've helped dozens of motivated leaders and organizations like you and yours to improve their results by discerning exactly the right next step. It's something not everyone can do, and it happens to be my specialty. Sound like something you can use? Learn more about me on all my media channels and reach out to start your own conversation and improve your life in every way. There's nothing like it. And you're worth it. Because if you're not, then no one is. Thanks again for joining me on a higher level. I'll talk to you next time, and we'll continue to see, think, and act on a higher level. Until then.